When people speak of Glenn Johnstone, they often throw around words like hardworking, low-key, yet visionary. And those are words that don't often go together. You see, Glenn was a complicated man. As the founder of the Vasaloppet, he had a dream, simple at first, to create a ski race. And he also had the determination, perseverance, and personality to make it happen. But even he couldn't have imagined that the simple gathering he organized of just under 100 skiers on Ernie Linder's farm way back in 1973 would eventually evolve into a community-wide celebration, a participatory spectacle involving thousands of skiers and a major international athletic event.
So I've known Glenn my whole life. In fact, I have a picture probably when I was 4 or 5 years old when he used to do Guess the Weight of the Pig contest. I was there with my Uncle Homer. Yeah, so I've known Glenn a long time and just an outstanding man.
Glenn had a vision way beyond what was the race. He had a vision of community. He wanted the community to be involved, not just as volunteers, but the atmosphere it would create. And he wanted the connection, of course, to Sweden, and he really did that in many ways, with having blueberry soup on the trail, presenting Dalla horses later on, in all the monuments that were built in the Mora area. That was his vision.
What I remember Glenn from being the father of one of my teammates. And I knew he was really active in the Vasaloppet, and I could see him out there. I mean, he would have the trails all ready for the high school team to be competing on, mid-afternoon, and they would be just perfect. And then we would be at his little cabin, a little log cabin that he had, and there would be, hot chocolate brewing, and there'd be snacks out, and we would go out and ski, and he would be watching over to make sure that we had waxed correctly.
By the time I got on the board somewhere in the mid-90s. Glenn had already been off the board for a long time, so my involvement was Glenn just as when we'd meet more socially or up at his deer shack or out on the ski trail or at some of the events, just talking to him. And back then, early on, he would give still a lot of ideas, and we'd ask him for advice. What do you think?
So what about Glenn made it possible for him to get so many people to do things that they might not otherwise want to do?
Well, I think just a very determined spirit. It's not one of, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but in my view, it's like, it's not do you want to, it's you shall do.
In the fall of 1972, Glenn Johnstone, who later became Vasaloppet president from 1976 through 1986, was called on to develop a trail system about 18 miles north of Mora, just off Highway 65.
Well, he was a visionary. He took a challenge, and the challenge was to create the ski race. And he worked very hard. He also had a gift of getting other people involved. Not only organizations, but just people. He would go to people and say, would you do this? More than likely, they said, yeah.
Well, Glenn knew everybody up in that part of the country because that's where he was from. He was born and raised up there, so he knew everybody, and they trusted him. So when he would come knocking on your door and say, can I build a ski trail across your back 40, they would say, okay. Where if anybody else asked him that, they'd say, hell no. So Glenn was able to build some of those trails when other people wouldn't have been able to.
He was a character, and he was, he was sharp. There was a lot going on in his head.
Over the years, Glenn worked diligently to help the Vasaloppet become the sustainable enterprise we know today. It wasn't always easy. He encountered countless obstacles along the way. But over the years, he learned how to engage the help and support of others, how to delegate responsibility, and how to share in the fruits of collective labors. His love of history, skiing, and the great outdoors form the perfect template for a legacy to which we can all be thankful.